with your host, Elona. I help businesses scale their purpose and profits. And I am blessed to be back to talk about my simple process that I actually utilize in scaling an independent company beyond its owner. But most importantly, the simple processes that you can also implement in your company so that your company runs smooth. It really aligns with purpose and profit. And of course, it's also scaling in revenue and doing more good in the world. At the end of the day, the companies that are conscious and that are healthy in their cultures absolutely can do more good in the world, increase their profits, but also, most importantly, be very fulfilled, whether you are their founder or whether you have a team that actually is supporting you. So let's get started right away. The first step in any new project or company that I take over in order to help them scale at the next level is always taking a look at the three M's. So the three M's are always your business model, your market messaging, and also your market, right? The market that you're going after. Ensuring those three M's are in place, then we can move on to the next process in the journey, which is taking a look at the marketing channels that we need to utilize based on what the company's already has already built, or the new marketing channels that the company can really implement in order to reach that market that I talked about in the first step of the process. Whether you have, again, a service or a product that is virtual or a live service or product. So in a nutshell, whether you have a hybrid business model where you're operating in a virtual environment or a local environment, it's all the same, because once you clarify the marketing channels that you can utilize and you've been utilizing, then it makes it easier to focus on the right priorities in your marketing, your sales, and which is really the lifeblood of any business. Marketing and sales is the lifeblood of cash flow. So utilizing the right channels to be able to then go into what's called the prospect journeys and your customer or client journeys. So once we have the channels, then the next thing is to ensure that we have really tight processes, very intentional processes for your new people that find you, which is your new prospects, and also the actual clients that you are serving. What is that journey, the client journey, so that you can optimize your current clients that have already built the know, like, and trust with you. Because I think it's really important. Really, what journeys are all about, just like human life and relationship journeys, are really there to help to get prospects and clients to know, like, and trust you. That's why we do marketing. That's why we build branding. That's why we build a brand. That's why we build an authority brand in the marketplace, because we want to build what's so important, which is the trust factor. So that's why your marketing channels have to have the prospect journey very much dialed in. Otherwise, you could be in the wrong places, marketing to the wrong people, and you probably are not going to be very happy with your marketing dollars that you might be putting in, or the time that you're putting in marketing within these channels. So once we understand that process, then we can get to the next phase, which is the customer journey. And I couldn't tell you how many companies don't have a process for their customer and client journeys. They've already done all the hard work with their prospecting and their marketing and their sales efforts, but they don't have a process for the journey for their actual clients, because we all probably know that we already build trust with our clients. So if we have a great service or a great product, our clients are the best ambassadors to be able to have an ascension journey with us, something else in the journey they can continue to increase the lifetime value of such a client, and also leverage and tap them for testimonials, for referrals, and for other opportunities that you can place within your company, so that your current clients are helping you grow your revenue, but also are helping you bring in more amazing people just like them. Because another big pain point for companies and businesses is that their clients are not the right fit people that value their services or products enough, or that can pay of the perception of value as it relates to their pricing for their products and services. So it's really important to understand all these different dynamics so that you have the master plan in place, the big map in place, so that you know exactly what are the right priorities to focus on and the right problems to solve. I couldn't tell you that. I just couldn't tell you, even in the different phases of growth that any company undergoes. It's very hard. It's very easy, I should say, for the entrepreneurs and for its founders to really focus their time and effort on the wrong priorities and solving the wrong problems. As your company grows, you will always trade one low quality problem for the next high quality problem. And it would be crazy to focus on solving a low quality problem when you now have a high quality problem, or vice versa. You could be solving a problem of scaling when you don't have any of these channels in place, or your marketing efforts in place, or your prospect and customer journeys in place. So it's really important to know where you are and to focus on the right problems to solve, so that you can keep scaling. So once we have those two things in order, the third thing is to now create systems and processes within the company so that we're automating as much as we can, we're using AI as much as we can, we're looking at repeatable processes that needs to happen day in and out as far as your operations. And then once we have clarity on that, then we can go into the hiring piece, right? Once we have utilized the technology resource or the systems resource, then we go to the human resource, right? Because there's only two resources that we can leverage to grow, which is the technology resource and the human resource. We probably have heard of the human resource, and technology resource is just developing daily, right? And so making the right decision, what is the right resource that we need to implement, really comes down to those processes that you already have in place and that are dialed in and working. Because unless they're working, then of course you, first of all, don't know what system you need to bring in. And then second of all, you don't know what person to bring in. So that's why all these things, it's kind of like a puzzle piece. All these things have to work together so then we can get to the last piece, so to speak, which is the systems and the human resource aspect. I've shared it many times that I usually use 5 positions in any company to move the founder outside of their company in a good way. We'll find something else for them to do, because usually that's another pain point. So we always need executive assistant. We always need a service delivery fulfillment or product fulfillment position. We always need a marketing position. We always need a sales position. And then we need leadership that oversees all those 4 other positions. And then for each offer that you have, for each business model that you have and you want to implement or launch or grow or scale, you just rinse and repeat the same process. Then you just put different leaders in place for those different processes. And that way you can keep growing, right? Because that's the other thing that most companies struggle with, is they have a scaling capacity and they really are operating within the capacity of the owner. But when you know how to strategize those 5 positions, then you can rinse and repeat. For one founder, one leader, you can only oversee 4 leaders in optimal way, right? So once you get to that, then you can start to build your organizational structure. This is how big corporations are built. All big corporations they all start from small business, and then they grow through medium business, and they get into larger spaces of corporation all the way to public companies, or they sell their companies. I mean, that's the process of growth for most companies. But back to the human resource, 5-people team for each product you have, rinse and repeat, and you scale. Even if you want to go into a new market, it's the same process. You have this market, you have the messaging, You have the business model for that market, and you have the team on your systems and team in place, and then you could just grow globally as well. Because that's another thing that happens. Obviously, as businesses grow, they start adding new services, new products to their mixes, and they want to reach new markets, and they want to go global. So this process is just keeps on repeating, so to speak. So that's kind of the scaling process in a nutshell. Oh, and I didn't actually talk about the noise that the CEOs and founders sometimes feel emotionally or psychologically with, well, what will be my new job, right? What am I here to do? Um, your job is to business develop, right? Your job is to develop your business and to implement all these different things in your company at all times. But of course, you can allow yourself to fit your unique strengths and your unique skills and areas of expertise in the different components of your organization as you find joy and fulfillment to be able to put those gifts into play. As you, of course, should be looking for that talent with the 5-person team that I mentioned, that they can complement your abilities, experiences, skills, talents, all those things that are really important in growing a company. So that's what we can do with our time, because I know that's another big pain point for lots of driven founders where honestly, if I were to go even deeper, the inner work is there because there's definitely something that they are feeling, including myself, this inner work that always gotta be done. Because at the end of the day, the achievement, what lies behind the achievement is usually the feeling of not being good enough, right? And being useless, of being out of value, out of place, right? Because most people, most founders get their value or their significance in the world from the work that they're actually doing. So imagine removing some of the things that they're doing, because as founders, it's just part of our job description to just be wearing all the hats. So it's very hard for lots of founders to move through the different phases of business growth appropriately because they're still holding on to, again, small business problems as their businesses get bigger. But as we evolve as humans, we also have to evolve our psychology, and we have to evolve, look into a lot of our gaps, whether they're personal or professional, so that we can focus on the right priorities and transition correctly. One of the biggest challenges for big companies is always change management. How do they now take the company, which is now bigger, into a new direction as needed based on market conditions, based on client needs, based on where the culture is growing and evolving? How do they now take what they've already built, which obviously gets more challenging as companies get bigger, because it's much easier to move faster in agility when you're a tiny company, maybe with 5 people, or when you're a tiny company with just you as a solopreneur. But when your company gets bigger in entity, then it becomes more challenging, right? So I look at that just like human life. It's an evolution. I talk about business growth and I relate it to parenting a lot. So for those of you that are parents, might resonate with what I'm going to share as far as my experience and how I feel that entrepreneurship and parenting have a lot to do with each other, because of the different phases of growth for our children. We need to be different type of parents, right? We need to meet different needs for them. And as we want to help them grow as independent individuals uh, in their own journeys and be, valuable members, contributing members to society, we also need to evolve and elevate our parenting styles appropriately at the different ages, right? When our child is 10, we focus on different priorities. When our child is 15, we focus on different priorities. When they go into mini adult, 18 to 21, we want to transition into a different phase of parenting. So it's really very, very similar with companies as they scale. Your company will evolve. If companies don't evolve, just like human life, they eventually die because they reach a level of maturity when they get so big that they build a brand, they build a healthy culture, have aligned their purpose with profit. However, they need to reinvent themselves, right? It's very just like humans. We all have reached, I mean, I share my corporate experience often. You reach a certain phase and stage of life where that served you, and then you need to reinvent yourself because current market conditions have changed. You have grown as an individual, the needs of the markets are affected, politics, all those other areas, which really have a lot to do within how we make decisions and we stay innovative. New competitors come into the space. So you have to adapt. That's why agility is one of the most important things in entrepreneurship. Um, and if agility is not there, then of course it's going to be very, very challenging to stay in a certain spot where you can just eventually be taken out of business, which is why the journey of business scaling and growth really has a very high risk rate of failure because unless the founders understand the journey and what it entails, then they might, make the wrong decisions or stall, which is another very common thing in business scaling. Stall so that when obviously they stall, pretty much everything else stalls and eventually dies. So I think it's really important to understand the things that can happen so that we can be better prepared where we're making decision or if we're overcoming challenging growing pains, I should say, within the growth of our companies. Because the more we understand what could happen, the more we can feel prepared and educated, and we can surround ourselves with the right people that might be able to further support us. Because again, it's a long journey, and at every phase and stage of growth, there will be new requirements for leveling up, whether it's you personally or professionally. And it's going to be the same mirroring effect for your teams. Pretty much what you're going through, your teams and your culture will also go through, right? Because we just impact each other and we're mirrors for each other's growth. I've seen this in HR very, very often, where the team is usually the mirror of the leaders. If the leaders don't change, evolve, grow, then of course your team also will eventually go into the status quo, and that will cause for turnover, right? Because they're no longer going to see a future with you or your company, and they're going to jump ship. They're going to figure out what else they can do. And it's very easy for your top talents to be grabbed by other people that have the growth aspect in their companies. And of course, have aligned their visions and missions with the way that they're changing lives, the way that they're doing good work in the world with significance. I believe that if significance is missing, then eventually people will leave. That was the reason why I left, right? Because I was missing those two important factors in my journey as an employee or entrepreneur under a Fortune 500 company. And I no longer saw a future. So your top talent will leave you. So it's really important as company founders to understand the process of scaling and to really take a look at their personal and professional gaps that they have as they're scaling, but also to be able to get the right support. You're definitely not supposed to do this alone. Just like any area of expertise, I always say thank goodness for professionals, because there is people that have dedicated their life and their life's work with helping people on certain areas of their lives, whether it's their company scaling or personal challenges or other areas that are important to a founder. Those are the people that you should invest into, because again, it takes a team to build a dream, right? Can't do this alone, and we don't have to do it alone. But maybe, based on your personal programming, you could have some things that might be blocking you in order to receive the right support or to even make the right decisions as far as decision making. I would say that obviously you as the founder are the main decision maker of the company. So it's important for you to make the right decisions and have that levels of awareness and consciousness, because you're making a lot of times very important decisions that could affect other people's lives, could affect the success of your company, but also can affect the livelihood of your teams. So the pressure is there for sure. So it becomes even more important as we do as humans. Sometimes we'll work harder for others or for the effect that we might have or not have on other people's lives and our own life. So use that as motivation, just like parenting. As parents, we will always do more for our kids than we do for ourselves. So use that motivation in your company if you might have to be able to really connect that those things together. So yeah, just food for thought. I really hope this was helpful. Let me know when you watch this episode, anywhere that you do watch this episode, your thoughts, any questions, any feedback. I also would love to offer you a free 30-minute strategy or discovery call to be able to go through, again, wherever you are in your scaling process and identify those gaps and maybe talk about personalization of the processes that I talked about at the beginning of this video to be able to scale. It's really important to have laser focus. I see that right now, focus and time management is one of the most problematic things that get in the way of us as humans and as business leaders. So really having a clear focus not only buys you back time, but also saves you a lot of time, which is really the same thing, right? Because if you buy back time, you also have saved time for other priorities, but also aligns with your profit, makes you more profit, and also saves money on the wrong investments in your company, so that your that equation of time and money is really there. Because I always say there's always two things that we put into invest into anything we do. It's our time or it's our money. And the more you get into the growth curve of scaling, the more I know that you want to save your time, because obviously you've already figured out the money piece. And then the equation is pretty much flipped on the other side. If you might be more at the startup, small business level, you're tied up for money more than time. So just flipping the equation and setting you up for legacy, it's really important, again, in solving the right problems that you might have, so that you're getting the right support and you're getting you're working smart and not hard. I think that's another programming from society, that we must work very hard. I don't agree with that at all. I think the more we develop our personal side and spiritual side as conscious leaders, there's absolutely very smart ways to work, where just the implementation piece of a certain idea that you have or an innovative, creative process can just make the difference between years of struggle or just hustling. So I don't agree with working hard. I agree with working smart and, of course, being disciplined, working on the right priorities. That's always important, because we can't just do something once and figure out, just hope for results. Consistency, discipline, small, tiny habits are all really the success, the indication of any success, whether it's scaling a company or personal life habits that we might want to achieve. Those are, at least what I've seen, are, the what wins the race at the end of the day. If it is a race, I don't believe it's a race, but you know sometimes when people ask me about competition, and this just came up as I am talking about racing and putting our blinders on, you want to be dominating. And if you want to dominate as a company, you want to obviously work on all these different things so that you're always staying in your own lane, but also you're dominating your industry and you are the leader wherever you are. And that comes with quality, that comes with persistence, that comes with consistency, that comes with having the right processes in place, having the right teams in place, having the right systems in place, so that you're able to dominate any space that you're in, so that you can not just survive, but thrive. Because who wants to just survive? Most people want to thrive, and you absolutely can thrive in your business success as well, just like personal life. And domination comes with a lot of those small habits, right? Because when you look back at the journey, you could see how far you've come and how far your company has scaled and has come, right? It's really a reflection of the people. So, because what is a company at the end of the day is just an entity of systems and people. So it's the systems, processes, and people. That's really what a company is, right? If it's just separate from our own emotional world, it's just something that operates within processes and people. So, again, I really hope this was helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for always supporting the show. I would love to remind you to subscribe, review, and share this show so that more business leaders that are conscious business leaders can find this content and they could share it with others, saving people a lot of time and a lot of pain in the process. And I'm going to end with this one quote. I've learned that in working smart, the smartest thing is, of course, to learn from our own experience and journey, but learn from others. That is more valuable because that's going to scale you faster. That's going to save you time, buy you back time, and of course, get you to the next levels of your wealth. And learning from other people's experiences is absolutely invaluable. So find the right people that can support you and get to those levels. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next